Commending cohesive content. Exploring epic epilogues. Proudly praising proper part twos. It's the Final Showdown Continuation Celebration! Hello and welcome to the Follow-Up Showdown Continuation Celebration. I am your host, making my version of the most with my time in quarantine, Paul Getz. Of course, this is normally the show where we try to improve on bad or non-existent second chapters. But in the spirit of fairness and out of love for the sometimes fruitful art of the sequel film, every now and then we're going to do one of these special editions in which we examine a part two that was worthy, that did get it right, discuss it, and perhaps see what we can learn from it. And today our teacher will be 1998's Babe, Pig in the City. Travis and Lauren will not be joining me today, but we do have an incredible guest to talk about this movie and its predecessor. He is a personal trainer and the co-founder of Biome Fitness in West Hollywood. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Wonderful. A dear friend of mine and a hell of a guy, Cody Olendorff. Cody, how are you?
Hey, I am well. Enjoying my quarantine life.
Hey, oh, good. I'm glad you're one of those, just like me.
Yes, and thank you for the warm introduction there.
Oh, anytime. Now, Cody, I asked you to do this episode for two reasons. I'm sure you can guess at least the first one.
Is it because I grew up on a farm?
It is. And I already told you that. So,
right, this isn't news to me.
Well, I'm definitely going to have a lot of questions about that. Right up front, may I ask, well, okay, so you would say on your farm, your father was the farmer Hoggett.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be yes. Yeah.
Did he ever take particular interest in one of the animals?
For our listeners, I wish I could say yes, but no, my father was very cold-hearted toward most animals.
What, did you farm animals?
Yeah, we had cows, we had a bunch of chickens, we have turkeys, cats, a dog, never had any waterfowl, but we had goats. My grandfather had pigs. We didn't actually keep pigs on our own family farm, though.
Any particular reason?
Oh, they're filthy. They're filthy and there's so much work. They're not fun to be around.
Oh, okay. Well, some are cute.
Oh, they're adorable. Especially the little baby piglets are just adorable.
I think maybe besides puppies, my favorite baby animal is the piglet, for sure.
The piglet is your favorite?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, you don't know anything. When you compare a piglet to a baby goat, come on, they look like little old men.
I don't know, the chubbiness of the pig, though, the little baby fat.
And the little tails are so cute, and they just go...
So do you have any guess for the second reason that I asked you in particularly to do this episode?
Oh, God, as I was viewing both of these, I was trying to do some soul searching of what hidden meaning has Paul decided is the reason why I should be watching this film, and I don't know. I have nothing to come to mind.
Okay, it is because these movies are co-written, and the second one is directed by none other than George Miller, the man behind the Mad Max movies.
Oh.
Yes, and I have a very distinct memory of you and I seeing Fury Road together.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, I remember coming out of the theater just gushing like kids, being like, oh my God, the part where the truck was, and the guy with the guitar, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. And now that you say that it's George Miller and he did that makes the second one is so stylized. Which I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but wow, I have so many things to say about how that transpired, and it's definitely not what I had in my mind whenever I said, hey, let's do a sequel of this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, agreed. He really takes a left turn, a hard left.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. So he, in terms of the franchises he's been involved with, Mad Max, he did all of them. Babe, he was involved in both, and Happy Feet, which I have not seen the Happy Feet movies, but I feel that I must.
Oh, I
think I'm gonna have to eventually see it because Robin Williams is in there, and I want to eventually see all his stuff. But I'm not looking. I don't know. I never had great optimism about it. This is the most optimistic I've felt because George Miller seems like a guy who has good vision.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to give it another try.
Normally, we would have Travis do what would either be called a Travis McMaster minute or 2 Travis McMaster minutes. In lieu of him being here, I'm going to try this. So I'm going to try to break down in 2 minutes what happens in both movies, so our listeners aren't lost when we start getting into the stuff.
Should I time you?
Yes. Go ahead. Keep me honest.
Okay. Tell me when you want to start.
Now.
Great.
Babe is about a pig who's separated from his family and then won at a fair by a farmer who guesses his correct weight. He's then put on a farm where he finds a surrogate family with a dog and her puppies. Her puppies are taken away, and so she raises Babe as a son, even though her dog male companion thinks it's unnatural. And the vibe around the farm is basically that every animal should do their own job, stay in their own place. He meets a duck named Ferdinand who wants to crow instead of the rooster. Babe is influenced by his dog family to herd sheep. He becomes really good at it, not using the dog style, but instead being very kind to the sheep and asking them to move. He becomes a great sheep herder. The farmer sees his potential. He takes him to a sheep herding competitions and he wins. Babe's Pig in the City is about the farmer's wife finds out that if they do a state fair appearance, they can earn money. They're in trouble with the bank. The farmer has an accident, so the wife has to go to the city to try to get to the state fair. A bunch of stuff happens to her. She ends up in prison. The pig ends up in a hotel full of different kinds of animals who are at first mean to him, but then he saves the life of the toughest one of them. So that dog makes him the leader of all the animals. They are then kidnapped by people from the pound, basically. Babe helps them escape. Esme finds them there, takes them home, and brings all the animals from the hotel with her to the farm.
You got 28 seconds.
Oh, well, that's it, right? I did it, right?
Yeah, I think you covered all the bases.
Yeah, so that's what happens. That's Babe and Babe Pig in the City in a nutshell.
I hope you all caught that.
Let's start by talking about Babe, the 1995 classic. What'd you think?
But it's great. It's great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The fact that Lord Elrond is in there is incredible.
Oh yeah, Hugo Weaving, the voice of the stern male sheepdog.
Yes. Yeah. He's.
Yes, he was great. I love this movie. I really enjoyed this rewatch. I remember liking it as a kid. This, after having watched it this time, I think cried at some point every day since watching this and the second one, and in a good way. But just the pig is so darling and the message is so pure, and just sort of the idea of any struggle, or like these movies really tug at your heartstrings, and really what's doing it for me the every day is the song that the farmer sings to Pig.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
it's so charming. It's so honest. It's so like all the words you've described it with. It just feels like a parent singing to their child.
Yeah, it feels like a movie that makes me want for a better world, almost, because it's just sort of about like purity not being beat down or something. It's very...
Yeah, it's not a sign of weakness. It is an actual, it's a quality trait to have, and people don't walk over you. It's great.
Yeah, it's really nice. And that song is actually based on a UK pop hit that has like a reggae tone. So those words are from let me look this up here, 1978 like reggae duet between Scott Fitzgerald and Yvonne Keeley. I don't like that version as much as what we got in Babe.
No.
But the main theme is apparently from a symphony, a chanson symphony.
Oh.
Yeah. And I love the use of the song right at the beginning of the second one, where they use it as the score. I was like, yes, this is how I want to be brought in.
It really sets the tone for the second one. Although, I know we're not talking about the second one yet, but
yeah.
the beginning of that is just bananas. But as far as Babe the Pig, also the beginning of it is very dark.
Yes, very dark. That's another one that's getting me. Is that moment where his mother's taken away and he says goodbye, mother. Like, just that image alone is,
it's horrible.
Maybe the saddest.
And then, like, being the pig is so naive. Babe is so naive to what is happening in the world, and I think it's, for both of us coming from Missouri, from a smaller town. I mean, we got from a smaller town. Moving to Los Angeles, it's very much like that. It's just we don't actually the pig, and then we don't really know what is to happen. Like we assume this is happening. This is what we've seen. This is what we've been told, but it doesn't ever end up the way that you think it's going to. And I think that's how they do that in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and that message in there in the first one about just sort of, I never really thought about the idea that the pig is not farmed for anything but eating in comparison to every other animal. So they really hit that nail on the head. And apparently it resonated. Like pork production or pork sales went down 20% right after the release of Babe for a while.
No way! That's like some Freakonomics stuff there. That's great.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I did remember that there's pig skins, because football is an actual pig skin, right? So that's the second thing.
You throw the pig skin around.
Yeah. I assume that's real. Anyway, Babe.
It's real.
Yeah. In that way, as well as others, was a huge success. Cost $20 million to make. It earned $64 million in the U.S. and $254 million worldwide. And it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Director, and the only Oscar nomination for James Cromwell as Farmer Hoggett.
Which is also crazy because he's phenomenal.
Yeah, and he is spectacular in this. I mean, he absolutely deserved to be up for this. This was
he's good. I believe every minute of his screen time and his dialogue, although little, is impactful. It says exactly what it needs to say, and it doesn't take away from the story in any way.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree. Supposedly, according to James Cromwell, he said when he says his iconic line, "That'll do, pig, that'll do," he said that was practicing in the mirror, and in the reflection, he saw his father, and in his head, while he was saying the line, he heard his father say, "That'll do, Jamie, that'll do." And apparently this whole experience was very it was very big for him. The first movie, he came through not doubting himself, and he took it very personally.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, that line worked just as well as I remember. I mean, I get why it's iconic.
It's great. It's so, I don't know, it fits the story so well. It's simple, but it's complex in the sense of "that'll do" sounds very just like, oh, that's okay. But "that'll do" from this person's mouth, it's just the highest accolade that you can get. It is the affirmation that you need from this man that is so hard on the exterior.
Yeah. It's so good. And my girlfriend Kim, she is a younger than I. She did not know that's what the line was from. She thought it was from Shrek because they parody it with the "that'll do, donkey, that'll do."
Well, that's a good Mike Myers.
Oh yeah, vague Scottish, not bad. And apparently this movie made James Cromwell, who was already a vegetarian, made him a vegan. Just sort of live the message. Yeah.
That's actually the reason why you wanted me to do this, right?
Yes, Cody is also a vegan. So if you ever see James Cromwell out there, you can you've got a thing in common to bring up. Like, hey, know any vegan spots out here? Oh my goodness, are you James Cromwell?
That's exactly how the conversation would go.
Got time for lunch?
Oh hell! Okay.
My last fun actor fact from the first Babe: Magda Zubanski, the woman who played Esme Hoggett, was in her early 30s in Babe, and
no.
Yes, and they made her up to look 20 years older.
They made her look 30 years older.
I mean, she is just as of now that age.
That's
in
crazy.
She just, because I think she was 34.
Wow. And yeah. And how far apart were the first and second one? Do you know?
Babe was released in 1995, as I've said, which was the year of the pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was like, oh, it's ready for Christmas. Let's release it. No. Wait another month.
Pump the brakes.
Sorry. Pig in the City was 98.
Well, that's a long time for a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, not some. I mean, like Men in Black, I think between the first and second one was like 5 years. Well, also, it seemed like George Miller with this one really had like a specific vision, and he wanted to build like a whole city set for. So I guess maybe pre-production on it was just crazy.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay. Well, basically we've already moved on to talking about the sequel. So yeah, Babe, Pig in the City, 1998. Despite the first one's success, the biggest flop of 1998. It cost $90 million and made 69.5, I think, worldwide. So,
really?
Yeah. And critically, also a flop. I think 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas the first one has a 97%.
That's so crazy because the second one, although it gets a little goofy, a little unrealistic, it's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I never was bored. I never thought, like, this is just so outrageous that this could never happen. Minor things here and there throughout the whole thing, but most of it was pretty spot on.
Yeah, I thought it was really inventive, and even though it was like a lot wilder and I think maybe funnier than the first one, it also had a great emotional resonance in itself. So, as I said, I just giving you the origin of where George Miller's start with this story came from. Apparently, in 1986. He became interested in the story during a long plane flight from Sydney to London, where the woman seated next to him was reading Dick King Smith's book, The Sheep Pig, which Babe is based on. And then apparently upon landing, he found the book in a bookstore and immediately began negotiating with the author for the rights. And it took him 10 years to talk him into allowing him to make the movie. So this was a 10-year labor of love for George Miller.
Dang, that's a lot. That's a long time, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that he did that 10 years to make that first one and then went even further with it and decided to make up a whole new story. Like the first one's based on a book, and then he went, you know what, I'm not done with this. I'm going to do something even bigger and even crazier and like totally new with another chapter to this story. That's like just such a...
it's incredible.
Yeah, and it sounds like him and the director of the first one, who he also co-wrote the first one with, had a bit of a falling out because Chris Noonan was not invited to this premiere of Pig in the City.
Well, he might not have liked the ridiculous big city that they go to, which is essentially just every major city ever, just kind of smashed into one.
It is a very coolly constructed metropolis of like... Yeah, it's every city put together, and even just the small area that they're in is like a little square around like a Venice canals.
Yeah, it's like a Florence sort of New York / San Francisco, Los Angeles. I imagine there's some sort of Middle Eastern influence in there at some point. I don't want to say that Taj Mahal was in there, but I feel like something similar to that is there.
Yeah, it was clearly a very specific idea, like a visual that was very, I mean, like you've never seen it anywhere before. It was really Yeah, like we were saying, inventive. But so this movie came out, did horribly critically, did horribly money wise. The president of Universal Studios made a statement about it, saying it was one of the 2 worst movies it ever made. The other one being The Wolfman.
What?
However, and I remember this from back when it came out, because I remember thinking Pig in the City looked a little ridiculous.
Of course.
It was Gene Siskel's final best movie of the year. He died the next year. So this was his final #1 movie of the year, Pig in the City. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, wow, he's like getting senile. Like, that's crazy. But he stuck to his guns. And that year, Saving Private Ryan, Life is Beautiful, Shakespeare in Love, those were some of the other critical favorites.
Some fantastic films. This is a very different genre than Saving Private Ryan or Shakespeare in Love, but still really good. It was still a really good film. I'm surprised with that. I'm surprised that it got such critical massacre.
Yeah. It has a cult status now, and is apparently one of Tom Waits' favorite films. So that's fun. I would say that this film holds up extremely well. In terms of the cartoonishness, the only moment I questioned, and this is crazy to say, but when they're doing the like Cirque du Soleil thing, where her suspenders are caught on the chandelier, and the waiters are like using the curtains to like swing after her and stuff. I understood why the chef wanted to take the pig, because he's a chef and he wants to cook the pig, I guess. But I didn't understand why anybody else was trying to take a pig away from this woman. This poor woman who is clearly only there to get the pig. Like, what was the problem?
Yeah, who's the problem with that? And then also, it was supposed to be hysteria, right? There's this woman swinging from a clown suit. There's all these animals that are loose. These chimpanzees are doing this, and they're over there and that, and this one's pretending to be a human. And the people that are in attendance of this ball, this gathering, I don't think I caught the words that they were actually doing, but they're all just sitting down.
A gal. Yeah. That's true. Nobody moved. Yeah.
Just kind of just sat around and watched it all unfold, and then they were all horrified that the chimpanzee was doing the same. Which there's a whole side story there with them that I didn't particularly care for.
The chimp and the orangutan.
Yes, the chimpanzee and the orangutan. Excuse me. The orangutan is the one that's pretending to be a human.
Thelonious.
Yeah, that's right.
I really enjoyed the scene where they had to wait for him to put his clothes on. I thought that was really sweet.
I don't think it wasn't done poorly, but I'm not sure. Yeah. I guess I really didn't understand why Thelonious what was it about him that made him in charge, but he wasn't in charge? And what was he? Yeah, why was he so dramatic, I guess?
Yeah, they never really got in. I mean, they didn't. I liked that they gave every character a memorable personality, but they didn't get deep into a lot of them. Crazy. Oh, man. Mickey Rooney as Uncle Fugly. That blew my mind.
That was so... that was... He came out there, I was like, what?
Yeah. Yes. Last couple notes I have about Pig in the City. I was hoping for more from the original song, because apparently that was nominated for an Oscar that year. It was Peter Gabriel singing, who I like, and it was written by Randy Newman. But it just didn't hit for me.
It wasn't great.
That'll do, Pig. It's like, I don't know. It's just a little too on the nose.
It felt like it was written for the film and not just like as a song. And obviously it was written for the film, but I think a lot of songs that do well at the Academy Awards are songs that are, yes, they're for the movie, but then they're also like, they're just a really good song. For instance, Skyfall.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great example. And even just take Pig out of there. You know what I mean? You can use that'll do independent.
Anything else. That'll do. You. Great minds think alike.
I hope that is as simultaneous. In quarantine sound, it might not sound like it, but it was simultaneous. Real fun fact here. I did know half of this, but I didn't know the other half. So Christine Cavanaugh is the voice of Babe in the first one, and she's also the voice of Chucky Finster on Rugrats. She dropped out of Pig in the City because of contract negotiations falling through, and was replaced by Elizabeth Daily, who voices Tommy Pickles on Rugrats.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I feel like they have relatively similar voices, or they did a good job.
Babe in particular, like he's got a different voice than like Chucky. He's just got kind of like a
very timid.
Yeah, if I not known, I might not have known.
I did not know until you told me this moment. I don't watch the credit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. That's how I was able to break the George Miller thing too. Although I don't know if you knew George Miller by name either.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, all right. This is a unique episode. It's talking about a good sequel, but so I do have sort of normally I have a series of questions I go through before we do our pitches. I have new questions this time. The first is actually the same as I usually ask. Did Babe need a sequel?
Did Babe need a sequel? I would have to say that the film that you watch, Babe, just Babe, there is no need of a sequel. They give us everything that we need. They give us the story. They wrap it up nicely. They put it in a little bow, and then it is over. I don't think there's any necessity for a sequel.
Agreed. I think, and the message comes across. There's you're not left wanting for anything at the end of Babe. Absolutely. No. I am glad that they did make a sequel, but absolutely, it's the idea to a sequel almost seems a little nuts, like of even doing one.
It seems like the old Hollywood thing where, this one did really well, so if we just make another one, it'll do just as well.
Okay, so then my second question for this continuation celebration is, why did it work? And my first argument for why Babe Pig in the City worked, at least in terms of what stuck with me in it appealing as a second chapter to the first, in addition to all the inventive, crazy visuals and kooky ideas, was that scene where Babe saves the life of the drowning dog with the boat.
Yes.
That's another thing that's had me crying for days. It's such a beautiful, pure, lovely moment, and I'm still wrapping my head around how emotional it made me, because it, like, first I was scared and I was sad, and then I was horrified, and then I was lifted up by like a force greater than anything human by this perfect, wonderful little pig in this moment. It absolutely sold again how wonderful the character of Babe is and why he deserves multiple stories.
Yeah, I completely agree with that scene in particular. As it was happening, because you can kind of see where it's going through as it starts. You see the lawnmower, which is just bananas. The whole chasing thing. But when it gets under it goes to that really dark place, and you're just like, oh my God, is this dog gonna? I won't ruin this for the viewers, but is this really going to happen here? I couldn't believe it. And then when you could see the resolution happening, it was just, oh, okay, great. But to your argument, I absolutely agree that what made this one a success was that you start the film under the guise of, this is going to be the same thing. The pig is going to go do the thing, and it's going to do the sheeping. Yeah. We're going to get the lady character in there more.
That's true.
She's going to do exactly what the male character did last time, and we're going to see it unfold relatively similarly. And then they don't do that at all.
It was a great mislead. And I know you were saying earlier about how the opening is so bananas, and it is, but I loved, especially in fitting it in with the rest of what happens in the city as a cohesive piece, I loved how fantastical it was. Like the men from the bank were these dark figures that sort of had their own music and were horrifying. And then that accident that Babe causes in the well is no joke. That's like nuts. I was like, oh, you did. You know, when that
I thought they killed him.
Yeah. That, which I definitely, as you'll hear in my my pitch that I came up with after watching the first Babe, I absolutely did not see. I thought Farmer Hoggett was going to be all over it. I thought we were getting, we were going to get another Hoggett movie, which we did. We just got the wife.
What it does, I think the beginning of Babe Pig in the City, what was so great about it, for me at least, was that they set up, we ended whatever part of the story that wasn't finished that would get us to the new story. They summed it up really quick in that first maybe 5 minutes of the film.
With that great narrator whose voice is just fantastic. Phenomenal. Yeah.
This was the prologue to this second chapter, or the second book of Babe, and it was great. It was like the note from the author. It was awesome.
And that kookiness runs its line all the way through everywhere you go, and it never gets old. Like, I felt like all the new ideas were always fun. I loved that the people with pig faces loved the pig and were nice to the only people in the city who were nice to them. That's fantastic.
See, that I like that, but it's also I'm just like, oh my god, these poor people that look like pigs.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that concept because they really sell this sort of that the city is different than the farm. It's rough. Nobody cares about anybody. You're on your own. It's seedy. And like Esme is involved in that gang fight that so quickly escalates and gets her arrested. And it's like,
it just goes there.
Yeah, and I just like how fun of a band-aid that it is to put over, like, well, why did something nice happen? Because nothing nice happens in the city. Oh, it's because this person looks like a pig and is maybe a little kinder to the world for that. And also something we mentioned off mic a little bit was how amazing that physical comedy with Esme was, with the dress splitting and the clown suit and, oh man, everything.
The clown suit, I honestly didn't expect to see that come back after we saw Mickey Rooney get carried out.
The squeaking with every step.
Who is the actress that played the hostel for the animals? What's that name?
Yeah,
name?
I don't know her name. I don't know that actress's name. I believe she's the same woman from The Grinch, who's the teacher, the Grinch's school teacher.
No, is it?
I don't know. I don't want to be wrong about that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Either way, I don't know her name. Ooh, I loved when the woman who called the animal control got her comeuppance across the street.
What was that? So the reason why they did that was because...
Oh, okay. So the way I understood it was that woman was always this troublesome neighbor who hated the animals, and then she called animal control, and then those two women together, Mrs. Hoggett and the hotel owner, rented out the hotel space to this giant hotel-sized nightclub, and used that money to live happily forever after on the farm together with all the animals.
I guess I just don't understand, why did that woman hate animals so much? Because she hated the noise, right, and the filth associated with it.
I guess hating the noise is understandable, but I definitely got the vibe that she was just meddlesome, like a rule follower, like not allowed type of thing.
I don't know how I feel about the ending of it. Or I guess that one particular element of it, it didn't sit well for me.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But, you got to punish your bad guys.
This is true.
So, okay. So then my final question that I have before we get into these pitches is, do you like your sequel better? than Pig
Oh
in the
God,
City?
no, not at all.
Oh,
As
excellent,
I was
excellent.
watching,
So we won't have.
I was looking at my pitch and being like, "Oh God, Cody, you should not pitch a film ever."
Okay, great.
Well, you're like, Cody, you are horrible and soulless.
Wow, you really went on a journey. I can't wait. Okay, yeah. Well, so then, yeah, without
in a
further
couple
ado,
weeks. Thanks.
I don't like my pitch better than Babe Pig in the City either. So we do not in any way have to put our pitches against. We don't have to vote. There will be no winner declared. This is just us pitching for the sake of seeing what we came up with and how it differed from what we were given.
Oh.
So, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll have you go first.
Okay, cool. It's not, Babe is a simple film, and so this is not an overly complicated pitch, but this is just sort of after watching Babe, what I said to myself I would like to see as the second chapter. Okay, so Babe makes it his mission to help every animal on the farm find their own destiny like he has found his. But since they won so he's any animal who has an interest in doing something, like a cow who wants to pull the cart instead of the horse or something like that. But since they won the championship, Hoggett and Babe have become a highly demanded touring act, a notion heavily encouraged by Esme for the sake of the money. And so he takes Babe away from the farm. Once Babe realizes how unhappy a life of fame away from home makes the farmer, and the fact that the farmer is doing all of it for his own benefit, the sheep pig's mission becomes to get them back home, even if it means giving up his own dream of herding. So it's sort of a thing where James Cromwell thinks he's doing it for the pig, and the pig is doing it for James Cromwell, but they can't communicate. So I'm thinking maybe there's a scene where it's like they break down in the hotel room or something, and they both yell, but they don't hear each other. Like, "I'm doing this for you," or something.
Okay.
And then, meanwhile, Esme is having a doozy of a time dealing with all these animals' odd behavior around the farm, because under Babe's influence, they're all doing their own thing. And by the time Hoggett and Babe return, the place has become a tourist attraction known for this very thing. Animals sort of doing their things at the place. In the end, Farmer Hoggett and Babe are able to stay put and fulfill their destiny at home by giving tours of the land, which Babe sees as like herding people. Visitors, pay for the right to visit their quirky kingdom. And so that's the end of my pitch, and that I call Babe's Destiny. So that's my title.
Well,
I felt like it was a decent offshoot of the concept.
I think so. I think it pays homage to the original, but also it has the ability to create something new, and maybe some other beloved characters that we didn't necessarily get. We don't have Ferdinand. Maybe we do have Ferdinand. Or Ferdy, as he is called.
I will say, as an aside, I really enjoyed his role in Pig in the City, and I thought I didn't think I would, but then I really enjoyed how they sort of just made him a piece of shit, where like he's so lazy, he makes the seabird carry him in his mouth and then like lies to him about pie. I love the idea that a soul as pure as Babe's best friend would be a shitty Seidler type who tries to take advantage all the time, and
he's an opportunist. Whatever the best thing is, he's like, I'm gonna go over here now. He's great.
Well, I wonder at what point ducks got a reputation for that, because Daffy Duck is very much that way.
Oh yeah,
they're sort of out for themselves, all the time. Yeah.
Huh.
Did you know ducks on your farm?
We had ducks, but they weren't like domesticated. They were just whatever flew in. We had a pond, and they would stay there.
Oh, gotcha. So no mischievous ducks causing a ruckus.
No mischievous ducks and nothing crowing at the sunrise. There is
really?
no ducking.
You said you had chicken, right? But no rooster.
No, we had a rooster. We had several roosters.
And they didn't crow with the dawn?
That is no, they do not. They do not crow with the dawn. They crow and just kind of whenever they want to. It is not synonymous with the sunrise.
Oh shoot, that's a fun one. Debunked right there.
I mean, it does happen at sunrise as well, but it just kind of happens throughout the day and sometimes in the evening.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, this is great. This is the rich wealth of information I was hoping to get in this interview.
It's the inside stuff.
So I did want to ask before we hear your pitch. I have one more farm question in case we don't get to any more, which is I guess more specifically in Babe, because they don't spend much time on the farm in 2. Was there any farm stuff that was just flat out wrong? Like, nope, that is not how that would go. That's not how you would pick that. That's not how you would shear a sheep. Yes.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't really paying attention to see or there wasn't anything that was glaringly obvious, other than when Mrs. Hoggett is tending to the farm. Clearly she's doing it wrong, but she's supposed to be doing it wrong. She is not.
Oh, right.
She is not the farmer.
Did you just slap your head and go, oh, Hoggett, what are you doing?
I would say that there's something I think in almost every movie that I've ever seen that has animals in a farm situation. They're always straw and hay. Do we know the difference between straw and hay?
I don't. I certainly don't.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you're the target audience then. Straw is what is left over after you harvest wheat. You take the tops off of it and you get these long stalks that are hollow, that are not nutritious anyway.
Wow. I never knew straw was wheat.
Yes.
Or part of the wheat plant.
That is what straw is. So animals don't eat straw. They eat hay, which is just different types of grasses that are nutritious and good for them. And I think almost because hay doesn't look very exciting on screen, like it's not very shiny, it's kind of dull, and it just looks like a big pile of grass. I believe that most of the time they use straw in place of hay because it's golden and it's shiny and it just looks way more interesting than hay does.
Gotcha. That is interesting. That's yes, we got one. We got 2. I did.
Oh, nothing that was overt to me.
The only one that seemed overt to me and then was like confirmed by looking at the goofs on this movie was that when Mrs. Hoggett is trying to like measure Babe to see if he's ready to eat, she turns him on his back and like is touching his belly, and he has female nipples all over his belly. Yes, which so I don't know why they left that in there. I don't know why because that's a pretty big oversight. It's a pretty close shot of that belly.
We didn't necessarily know the gender of the.
That's true.
They don't say it.
It's pig. It's just Babe. Yeah, you're right.
So maybe they were ahead of the game and just saying it was a they or a them.
You know what? I like that. I hope that is the case because it doesn't matter. It is just a pure spirit. The spirit of Babe. I
believe we use they. They are just a pure spirit.
Oh, well, it's a pig, so I think I'm. Well, okay. Okay. I know that animals, because we've talked about this numerous times over the course of our friendship, and just sort of as an aside, but I know we've talked about, animals are animals. They do their role. They serve, the farmer and the land and your needs. So I totally understand that. But did you or any member of your family particularly have affection for any of the farm animals?
Oh, I mean, of course, we were kids. That's what.
Really? So you did experience that sort of love of I guess maybe not their personalities, but their cuteness.
Absolutely. Have you ever seen a baby calf or a baby cow? A calf.
I mean, not in person. No.
They are adorable. They're just like big calves. We had this one, it was a black baldy, and we called it Easter because they were born on Easter and they had a white face and a black body. But this cow in particular, who was born, was very, very playful. It was like energetic and jumped around a lot, and like it would just kick its legs out in every direction all the time, and it was just hilarious to watch. But even in their adult years, as they got older, they would still just like launch themselves into the air and kick their legs out and like just legitimately have fun. There was no fundamental reason for this cow to do this, and most of the other cows did not behave that way. But Easter in particular would just lose their mind and just go run and flail and kick around, and it was adorable to watch, and I absolutely loved that cow. May they rest in peace. They have gone off they've been put out to pasture, as they say in the farm world.
Was the cow sold, or did the cow die of old cow age?
So on our farm in particular, we sold the cow.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So Easter was only with us for 7 years, I think. We had which is actually a pretty long time for cows.
Are there farms in which people have animals and just let them live there and don't use any of their stuff? I mean, maybe not the milk of the cows and the eggs of the chickens, but like, are there farms where people just literally set them up so that animals can live lives and be born and die? Or does...
Oh, yeah. Actually, my grandpa, I would say most contemporary farms at this point are like that. They're people that just like to have these animals around and just genuinely enjoy taking care of them. The meat industry or the farming industry is so huge now, and you have to be such a massive establishment to make any sort of money to do it. You can't do it just anybody that has just a few head of cattle or a few hogs or a few of anything. They're not doing it for any reason other than if they want to have their own fresh eggs, or if they want to have their own fresh meat, or if they just genuinely like having a farm style life.
Gotcha. Okay, great. That makes me feel better about some very specific cases in the world. That's nice. Okay, so then do you wanna give us your pitch?
So the Babe for Cody Olendorff, Babe 2, as it will be named, or as it is in my notes. I didn't think of Babe Destiny. That's good. For me, the Babe 2 is going to be a love story. Because who doesn't want to see two piglets fall in love? Or maybe they aren't pigs, maybe it is a different animal.
Yeah.
So following the events of Babe, we've got the sheep pig. This is an amazing creature, and it's so amazing that we must go on tour for the national championship of sheep herding.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like the next likely step, as to me, in any sort of sequel. Farmer Huggett loads up the pig, and Ferdinand follows along by like stealthily creeping in, and he will be in throughout the whole film. But he leaves his mom Fly, or his surrogate mother Fly, and she's very upset, and he's very emotional. He doesn't want to leave, but he goes anyway because this is what he has to do, and it's to make money for the farm and whatnot. So they go to these national championships, and this is when we learn that Babe is not necessarily singular in his skill set of being able to herd sheep, where Babe meets the likes of a rabbit, a turkey, a llama, an ostrich or an emu, either one, I don't really know which I want to go there, and other pigs. And all of these animals do things, in my mind, they are all sheep animals. They all can herd sheep, but they are just from different walks of life, so they are just essentially, they have the same story as Babe, and Babe learns that he is not necessarily alone in his ability or his talent. So over the course of the movie, he actually runs into his sheepdog brothers and sisters, that you could say. So the dogs that have been sold.
Pups. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So we meet one of them. It doesn't matter necessarily which one, but we meet them and we know that they're okay and that they are all doing well. And they get together, but they are now rivals.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So there is some tension there. But
And of course, I feel like Babe would be approaching it like, "Well, you're my brother. I love you," and they'd be
of
like,
course,
"Yeah, get away, scrub," or whatever.
this
Maybe not.
that's exactly what I was going for. So there is some tension between siblings there, or pseudo siblings. But over the course of this, there's rounds, and Babe is very, very upset. But then Babe also becomes very smitten on another pig, another sheep pig, a foxy opposite gender of whatever Babe is. Now that we've discussed that, I haven't really thought of that in this context, but for the sake of our argument, Babe is male, and he is chasing a female pig. So she is got bows in her hair, and she is also phenomenal at her job, but she is a taker. And she gets in between the sheepdog and Babe, and they become even more intense rivals because she is courting both of them.
Oh boy!
And eventually, she breaks Babe's heart, and Babe can no longer go on with the competition.
Oh,
he is so upset.
Oh,
and
no!
Much like in the first Babe, Farmer Hoggett has to try to console Babe or get him back up into fighting shape. And to do this, he does the only thing that he could possibly think of, where he calls Mrs. Hoggett to bring who does everybody want to see? Who is the only person in everybody's life that when you see this person, you just melt, and you are honest, and you're just your foolish baby self? But it's
I gotta
Mom.
say, Mom. So Fly, she brings Fly.
So Fly comes to the national championship with Mrs. Hoggett. There's obviously a reunion between Mr. and Mrs. Hoggett because he's been gone for so long. But then Fly there finds Babe, talks, the usual tropes of like, it's okay, it's his heartache, it's going to happen. And then from there on, Babe goes on with the determination of it does not matter, I will make it through this, and wins the competition with his pup brother and or sister, who is in second place, and they have, by the end of it, made up, and we see that the female pig is defeated, and she has gotten her comeuppance, I guess you could say.
Awesome.
So that would be I love Babe 2.
Yeah, I love this pitch. I love this pitch. And I love that you went similarly to Pig in the City. You brought in different animals and you had particular ones in mind. I also think that there would be a rich possibility for there to be some fun, eccentric humans at the odd herding convention.
Of course.
For Hoggett to interact with. That sounds really fun. I assume because Babe's gift for herding comes from him, his kindness and his ability to sort of just bring himself down to everybody's level, I assume that the female pig's style of herding would be different.
Of course. They all have slightly different styles.
That is great. I like yours better than mine. I think both of ours were more the sort of like traditional follow up to what we got, but I think that you spent a little more time building your world. I was very impressed, Cody. That's great.
Thank you. But that is not the movie that we got. We got something so strange and different, which I'm actually very happy that you asked me to do this, because I would have never watched Babe Pig in the City had you not suggested this.
Yeah, and this was I in the future I want to do like more of these appreciative of good sequel episodes, and I'm going to get some more obvious ones like Terminator 2 and Back to the Future 2, but I wanted to start with this because I only ever heard this sort of reputation for it being good and weird and unique, and I sort of wanted to put it to the test, and I was not disappointed. They gave us a cinematic experience and a real treat. And I can't recommend either of these movies enough. They might have you crying for a week if you're like me, but it's worth it, and it feels good. But Cody, thank you so much for coming and doing this. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you personally would like to take this time to plug in your world?
I want to say yes, but at this time, no.
Cool. Nothing is certain now, except that I have time to record a podcast. So look forward to more tablets of wisdom from me.
Oh, yeah. I always look for the tablets of wisdom from Paul. Much like Moses.
Moses. Which one was the burning bush?
Yes.
Right? That was Moses. I'm not going to butcher that analogy anymore. I'm just going to take this time to say thank you again for listening. See the Babe movies. And, maybe one day you and I can get back together on this show to talk about the Happy Feet franchise.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. Good. Well, for all you listeners out there, take her easy. And I'm going to stop recording now. And now. On the next follow-up showdown. If I sound a little aggressive today, it's because we're talking about something of a sore spot for me, the Men in Black series.
No one has had that horrific experience. That's almost like a joke experience. That's almost proof that you're in hell.